Yorker. Negotiate the deal with them other money stalkers. Diesel drove the Beamer.
Somewhere buried in 1995 is a posse cut so stacked it shouldn't exist.
Keeping the street sweeper close.
For Legends, one track, produced by a man who flew from Tokyo to New York just to make it happen. We're counting down 15 rare 90s underground records. And we're saving the most unbelievable one for last. Number 15, Parallax Don't Mean Jack, 1994.
Some type of reaction, you know what I'm saying? My reaction, yo, this is my reaction.
The same year Illmatic set a new standard for what one MC could do on wax.
Starr, and the label laid it up like it was candy and pumped some G's into videos.
Parallax pressed up, Don't Mean Jack. With the kind of raw, unfiltered urgency that the underground ran on when no one was handing out budgets or second chances. The track operates on pure East Coast fundamentals. Drums that hit like pavement. A sample loop that breathes just enough space for the lyricism to land. Built by a crew who understood that craft was the only currency that mattered when you had nothing else to spend.
It's all about in the industry. In the industry, but we're not in the industry. Yo, we just gotta give.
Distribution was local, reach was limited.
So he rehearsed the fake image to try to feed the day in order to be a mech.
And most of the people who heard it first heard it through a DJ who wouldn't tell you where he got it. The buried fact is that Don't Mean Jack represents a specific and now documented strain of 1994 underground output that never got cataloged in real time. Records made in the same creative climate as the year's most celebrated albums, but left entirely outside the conversation that followed. Collectors in the BoomBap archival community have surfaced it repeatedly in the decades since as proof that the quality gap between the celebrated and the overlooked was far narrower than the industry ever admitted. Some records got famous. This one got kept. But the next entry came from even further outside the map. A Southern crew who showed up in 1994 with something nobody in New York was ready to classify. Number 14, Down South Southern Comfort, 1994. In 1994, the industry still treated Southern hip-hop as a footnote. Regional curiosity that hadn't earned a seat at the table where New York and Los Angeles made the rules. And Down South arrived with Southern Comfort and didn't ask for one. The track carries the warmth and weight of Southern rap in its most authentic pre-commercial form. Before Cash Money, before No Limit had a national footprint. Before the South had been packaged and sold back to itself by a label in a glass building. The production has a looseness that New York BoomBap didn't allow. A groove that prioritized feel over formula. With lyricism drawn from a completely different well than anything being pressed up on Payday or Nervous Records that year. The buried fact is that Southern Comfort documents a moment in Southern hip-hop history that gets skipped in most retrospectives. The period just before the region's commercial explosion. When when its most interesting voices were operating without an audience large enough to sustain them. What Down South built here was real. The timing just wasn't. The South would get its moment. But by then, the records that laid the actual groundwork had been forgotten by everyone except the people who pressed them.
And when you're singing this joint, what's that called, y'all?
But the next entry comes from a duo at the absolute center of New York's underground. And their story involves one of hip-hop's most important producers before the world understood what that meant. Number 13, Gang Starr, No Shame in My Game, 1992.
Hey, yo, sup? Yo, what's up, son? I heard some crabs all in it.
By 1992, Gang Starr had already released 2 albums and established themselves as one of the most serious artistic operations in New York hip-hop.
I get into the beats more. MCs are washed up like dead fish on the seashore. Save the talk.
And then they made Daily Operation and proved the first 2 records were just the warm-up.
Hey, don't even think about it, cause ain't no shame in my game. No shame in my game.
No Shame in My Game is the album's moral center.
MCs fake hard just to gain appeal. I like some gangster rap, don't like the prankster.
Guru rapping about integrity and the cost of staying true over a premier beat that sounds like a sermon delivered through a crate of vinyl.
They wanna live fat, who'd wanna clean up their act when the beats come in stacks. They live for the...
Never released as a single, never pushed to radio.
Life's a bitch, so who are we?
Treated entirely as a gift to listeners who showed up for the full experience.
The mystic, majestic, left kid. Jeru the Damaja.
Daily Operation sold over 300,000 copies without a crossover single in 1992, which was its own kind of statement. The buried fact is that this track functions today less as a classic and more as a test.
Yelling and the preaching. Cause who the fuck would I reach? Man, niggas don't wanna stop that.
When someone names it as a favorite Gang Starr record, the room immediately knows what kind of listener it's dealing with.
In fact, I'll have you open like a hooker's gap. I like to catch a buzz cause I
Premier's production is a masterclass in restraint.
take it as a compliment and fuck you too if you're scheming on the chance to put a stain on my name.
Every element placed with the precision of someone who understood that space itself is a musical instrument.
Now death stalks the streets and it's right at your gate. So bug, lose your mind, but I ain't going.
30 years later, it still sounds like a standard most rap records are still trying to meet.
Known as Guru, sticking it to you. And it's your co-host with the co-most.
But the next entry comes from a group that Premier also shaped.
As I deliver rhymes with ease and walk around with my head up, I'm dead up serious, so don't begin.
Artists who existed in his direct orbit and still couldn't escape the underground's gravity.
Cause you know I walk that walk, hitting city to city, but make my home in New York.
If you're still here, you already know what Rewind Sonic is about. The stories behind the music that changed everything and never got the credit it deserved.
Rap, so I get past all that by kicking straight up facts. There ain't no reason to shoot.
Hit subscribe and ring the bell. Every week we go deeper into the decades the algorithms forgot. Number 12, Group Home, so-called Friends, 1993.
The flip when there's combat beef, I'm not having that. Yo, I pull the trigger back. No.
Group Home, Lil Dap and Malachi the Nutcracker.
When they put with the right, did everything on my own without my father in my life.
Made records with DJ Premier at a time when a Premier beat was the most reliable certification in underground hip-hop.
Brooklyn Brother Store.
My friends, my so-called friends, my friends.
And still remained outside the conversation their producer was helping to define.
He's coming off at a young age, only 15 and hitting the gun stage.
So-Called Friends is a 1993 document of that tension.
He is made and that's the family trade. See, I take cash when I step in a casino.
2 MCs from Brownsville rapping about loyalty over a Premier loop that hits with the full weight of the era.
Yo, I'm only 15, but I be rolling like a battle cat. And yo, I'm ready.
Circulating through DJ sets before their debut Livin' Proof landed in 1995 as proof that this crew had everything required to break through.
Strap, ready for combat. Motherfucker got naked on a kamikaze attack.
Livin' Proof sold respectably for an independent underground release.
That's how it is, cause I'm living trife. Rolling the dice, take a chance on your
but peaked well below what its production pedigree should have commanded.
like when I'm kicking rhymes or busting tech nine, so-called friends make the nut go wild.
The buried fact is that Group Home's inability to cross over despite Premier's direct involvement
My gangsta bop, your crew I clock, and the bitch they jock saying, damn.
became one of the most studied case studies in underground hip-hop economics.
And I gotta get paid, cause bullets are sprayed and many bodies are laid. More money.
Evidence that even the best producer in the game couldn't guarantee an audience for MCs the mainstream hadn't decided to care about yet.
All you pussy niggas know where my heart is at. I like to stay down low, but yo, I flip at times.
Their catalog remains deeply respected in BoomBap circles.
Fights every night, cause shit wasn't right.
My friend, my so-called friend.
And So-Called Friends is the track that started that conversation.
Everybody told us with this hardcore slang. Make the pumps remain, cause my style is
Legacy without recognition is still legacy. It just hurts differently.
My friends.
Yo, troop on any block with
But the next entry comes from a crew who brought in one of 1995's most feared MCs
the murder date. Let's grab our fucking guns and start to invade. A hitman fire.
and still couldn't get airplay to save their lives. Number 11, Walkin' Large, When I Flow, and Jeru the Damaja, 1995.
International. Ha ha.
Jeru the Damaja in 1995 was one of the most feared MCs in New York.
Me, cause I chose my brain to guide me. My thoughts, eyes, and ears to protect me from
The Sun Rises in the East had dropped in 1994 and announced him as a lyricist operating at a level the underground had to stop and acknowledge. And when Walkin' Large brought him in for When I Flow, they got the full version.
and maim using abuse, cause this is my domain. I came to enlighten.
The track runs on a Premier-influenced aesthetic, drums locked tight, a sample that adds color without competing with the vocals.
Life bullets, kid, you can find the best in me. My rhymes protect cause I flow over
Space kept open for MCs who have something real to deliver.
to be myself and take a ride. To somewhere now New York can find me, sit beside.
Walkin' Large pressed it independently during a period when New York underground was at peak creative density.
Egyptian by MCs I'm hated. After you cease by the rhyme, you soon be capped.
More quality records per square mile than anywhere else on Earth. Almost none finding distribution beyond the 5 boroughs.
Poetry, I wanted to realize the enormity of the nonsense you be saying.
The buried fact is that Jeru's verse circulated on tapes among collectors entirely separate from the song itself. Passed around as evidence of what he could do on someone else's record when the production deserved his best. Today it lives exclusively in the catalogs of crate diggers who extend to Walkin'.
With all these sick influences from the world outside, I guess I have to be dead.
Large the same reverence they give the artist Jeru recorded with on his own releases.
See you looking for your tomorrows. I hid it behind your yesterdays, and yesterdays is gone so.
That recognition gap is the underground's most persistent injustice. But the next entry from the same crew asks a question the industry still hasn't answered.
So listen as I advise, step to me, be ye not unwise, cause I come through like.
And the title alone tells the whole story. Number 10, Walkin' Large, Airplay, 1995. The title says everything. Walkin' Large didn't name this instrumental something cinematic or coded. They called it Airplay, with a question mark. And that punctuation is a complete sentence about the relationship between underground hip-hop and radio in 1995. The beat is the argument. A mid-tempo boom-bap instrumental built with the patience and precision of producers who arrived at a sound that deserved broadcast and new. Even while making it, that broadcast was never coming.
I'm taking the whole weight on me. Son of the mother, that means I'm blessed with power to attract.
Instrumental hip-hop occupied a specific and undervalued space in the underground economy.
I understand you've been paralyzed. Messages been verbalized.
DJs needed clean beats for live sets and mixtapes. And Walkin large understood that a great instrumental was its own argument for the music's worth. The buried fact is that Airplay became a minor touchstone in collector circles, not for who rapped on it. No one did, but because of what the beat alone communicated.
With me, I'll take a spoon and a big dish. I heard of an island where they serve
that the gap between quality and opportunity in the mid-90s underground was real, wide,
now here's the motion. I put
and felt most acutely by the people making the music.
I take my time with them, even as daughters come shorter. At this time, the course is internal.
Every producer who built something great in that era and watched lesser records get spun on Hot 97 understood that question mark personally.
Explanations, don't need to discuss it, just hand it over. It's on the right kid, 'cause I'm the heart.
In 1995, it was a wound. Today, it's a document. But the next entry comes from an MC who answered that wound with 5 platinum records. And this is the one most people never knew existed. Number 9, Nas, One on One, 1994. Illmatic dropped in April 1994.
Son, you know what this is. Take it off me. Come on, son. Don't even come at me like that, son. Come on, son.
And immediately began accumulating the kind of critical reverence that typically takes decades to build.
My crew's rolling fresh out their greens. Give you what you never seen.
But the sessions that produced that album generated more material than 10 tracks could hold, and One on One is the proof.
Just the one-on-one where we got to fight. Yeah, imagine there's no gun.
Recorded during the Illmatic era but cut from the final track list. It finds Nas in the exact headspace that produced New York State of Mind.
It's hard to see the faces in their hoodies. I bet a boogie. Too late, I tried to swing when they
lyrically locked in, every syllable carrying the weight of Queensbridge.
Bless the evil is a legal substance. Soul, roll Mobb Deep, guns in the black Jeep.
And the precision of an MC who knew this album was his one shot at the conversation.
Hard chances of surviving the game was like trying to feed Allah, Lord. I walk up.
Illmatic was certified platinum 4 times over.
Yo, you remember this face? Yeah, run these.
And consistently tops greatest rap album lists 30 years after its release.
I become it, I'm from it, I even done it, blunt it, so run it. Yes.
Which means anything left off it wasn't rejected. It was edited out of a masterpiece. The buried fact is that the shadow catalog of Illmatic sessions has occupied hip-hop historians and collectors for decades.
You know what I'm saying? Sound comes back at you.
With One on One sitting at its center as evidence of just how high the creative watermark was, even for material that didn't make the cut.
Imagine this, no guns, no knife. It's a one-on-one, so now we got to fight.
Any record that didn't survive Illmatic's final edit is in the leftover.
It's 2:10 in the AM in the streets of Queens. Try hard to die.
It's a survivor of the most competitive editorial process in rap history.
Hoping help is near. Street fighting was cool, but in school I bought a new.
But the next entry comes from a group who embedded their deepest cuts so far inside their album that most fans have owned it for 30 years without truly stopping to hear it. Number 8. A Tribe Called Quest, Lyrics to Go, 1993.
Lyrics to go. Lyrics to go.
Midnight Marauders arrived in November 1993 as the third act of one of hip-hop's most purposeful creative runs.
In other words, I'm loco, 6'0" with my high complexion cocoa, representing.
Debuting at number 8 on the Billboard 200, selling over 1 million copies in the U.S.
So I can reach that other level. Don't worry about getting gas, I push the pedal to the metal.
Producing singles that define the era. And Lyrics to Go is not one of those singles. It sits deep in the album's second half, Q-Tip and Fife building around a jazz-inflected loop with the unhurried confidence of a group that had nothing left to prove commercially and everything still to say artistically.
Lyrics to go. Lyrics to go.
The production breathes differently than the album's more celebrated moments.
Come to days like this, I got lyrics to go. Lyrics to go.
Looser, warmer, almost conversational. And the lyricism matches. Detailed, specific, technically elegant without announcing itself. The buried fact is that Lyrics to Go was sampled by producers across the late 90s and early 2000s in projects that reached far larger audiences than the original. Meaning its influence traveled further than its reputation. One of the underground's most persistent ironies, where the source is less famous than its echo. Dedicated Tribe listeners rank it among Midnight Marauder's finest moments precisely because it rewards patience. A track that reveals something new on the 10th listen it withheld on the first. In an era of instant consumption, it asks you to slow down. But the next entry pulled off something even rarer. A remix that landed one of rap's most mythic voices on a record most people have still never found.
I think somebody shitted. I guess they will be me because I'm.
The story behind number 5 on this list involves Q-Tip walking into a Mobb Deep session and helping create one of the most emotionally devastating records either artist ever made. And it still gets skipped in greatest hits conversations. Number 7, Crew and Slick Rick, Just Another Case, Remix, 1997.
Once upon a time, let's see if I remember, back in January. Nah, chill, it was December.
Crew, Yogi, Mighty Ha, and DJ Polo.
Glass in the air, toast to my team, toast to my cream and the Scotty that beam.
Came out of the Bronx in the mid-90s with a sound that blended boom-bap lyricism with a melodic sensibility that made them harder to categorize than most contemporaries. And in 1997 they landed a feature that should have repositioned everything. Getting Slick Rick on a remix in 1997 was a signal. Rick had spent years navigating legal battles following his 1990 conviction. Every appearance carrying the weight of scarcity. And his verse on Just Another Case, RMX, arrives fully present. Storytelling instinct intact, cadence unmistakable. As commanding as it was on La Di Da Di 12 years earlier. Crew's debut to Dirty 30 landed on Def Jam that year and received strong critical notices without converting that goodwill into commercial footing. The buried fact is that the Slick Rick remix circulated more widely in DJ circles than the album version ever did. The remix outliving the release in the culture's actual memory. A dynamic so common in the 90s underground it barely registered as tragedy anymore.
Him and his chick, 40G vibes, holding down fort like they Bonnie and Clyde.
A Def Jam deal with Slick Rick on the remix should have launched careers. For Crew, it became their most celebrated footnote. But the next entry is a Biggie record the whole world owns. And the one most people have never actually sat with long enough to understand. Number 6, the Notorious B.I.G, Everyday Struggle, 1994. Ready to Die went quadruple platinum, produced Juicy and Big Papa,
On the way, mad bills to pay. That's why you drink Tanqueray, so you can reminisce.
and made Christopher Wallace a household name before 1994 was over.
I'm trying to stop my flow, and what they don't know will show on the autopsy.
And then there is Everyday Struggle, sitting quietly in the track list doing something none of the singles attempted, making Biggie vulnerable.
With my man Two Tex to take over this project. They call him Two Tex, he told Two Tex.
Over a spare Pete Rock production, he raps not about winning but about the weight of surviving.
Smoke what rumors were spread. Last I heard I was dead with 6 to the head.
The moral cost of the streets, the exhaustion underneath the bravado,
Everyday struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear
the specific despair of a man who has seen enough to know what the ending usually looks like.
the body, so she's older now. Educated street knowledge, I'm a molder now.
The track never charted, never got a single push, and never received the promotional infrastructure built around One More Chance or Warning.
My raw power move. Glock 19 for casket and flower moves.
The buried fact is that in the years since Biggie's death in 1997,
The crack in the crack of her ass. 2 pounds of hash in the stash. I wait for her to make
Everyday Struggle has consistently ranked as the most cited track in his catalog by other MCs.
in the vein. Hard to explain how I maintain. The crack smoke make my brain feel
Artists who grew up on Ready to Die pointing to this specific record when explaining what made him different from everyone else.
smoking blunts with my crew. Flipping over 62s. Cause GED wasn't B.I.G.
Radio in 1994 wanted the triumph.
Another day, another struggle. I had the master plan. I'm in the caravan on my way to Maryland.
This record gave them the truth instead. The singles made him famous. Everyday Struggle made him permanent.
I Mayor Giuliani ain't trying to see no black man turn to John Gotti. My daughter used
But the next entry features a duo who found an unlikely collaborator and made their most emotionally raw record.
another rock to sell. People look at you like you's the user, selling drugs to all the
A combination that had no business working as cleanly as it did. Number 5, Mobb Deep and Q-Tip, Drink Away the Pain Situations, 1995.
Saying the first name O, but gold couldn't take the dick. It made me lazy. We split up.
The infamous is Mobb Deep's masterpiece, certified platinum, built inside the Queensbridge houses.
It's a man to support me. Besides, you from the 41st side of things, and Queens.
Produced by Havoc with the cold precision of someone who grew up knowing exactly what those walls sounded like.
And others couldn't figure how me and Hill figure used to move through with vigor. Had this
And Drink Away the Pain Situations is the moment the album drops its armor.
polo trying to say he the boss. I said shut the fuck up. The kid is out with the loose at. Got a
Q-Tip, whose entire tribe aesthetic ran on the opposite frequency from Mobb Deep's nihilism,
what? Guess took the jigger and jigged it in the gut. Gut.
walks into the session and makes it work anyway.
Got to walk on by, walk on by, walk on by, walk on by.
His melodic presence doesn't soften the track, but gives it a different weight.
Thought to myself, yo, this trick is right. Gathered up all my dough, so I spent the night.
A contrast that functions with no logical right to.
Brain with the Henny and drink away the pain. I think the whole world's lost his brain.
The infamous debuted at number 15 on the Billboard 200 in April 1995.
The living itself, even though my friends tell me she ain't good for my health. When I go pick her up, they tell
And has been in continuous critical reappraisal since.
and drink away the pain. Pain.
Tommy Hill was my name.
Regularly appearing on lists of the greatest rap albums ever recorded.
It's a piece of the pie and Nike scooped the stats cause he moves like air. Threw them shits up in the
The buried fact is that Q-Tip's involvement was reportedly arranged through the organic Queensbridge to Queens creative network connecting mid-90s New York artists.
I'm shorty for life, so fuck the feedback. I think the whole world's going insane. I feel my
Not a label deal, not a marketing strategy, just two musical worlds agreeing to briefly share a room.
I think the whole world's going insane. I fill my mind up with liquor and drink away the
The result is the most emotionally honest moment on a brutally honest album.
scope is on the top, so you know he live in Eiffel. Took the aim of Oswald, caught him north in the
Built by people who trusted the music enough to try something that had every reason to fail.
Land rock, strong enough to make your heartbeat stop. One sip, I thought the bitch was a
But the next entry comes from a Harlem duo running on BeatP philosophy.
I used to be in love with this bitch named me and Jay. Don't fuck with her no more, now I
With one of rap's most important voices producing behind them.
fucking clap something. I love my shorty more than life, now ain't that something? So love your Danny more than
And the record they made deserved far more than it received.
bridge niggas be acting like they kings. Pushing Lexuses, wearing fat diamond rings.
The number one record on this list brought together four of the most respected names in 90s hip-hop on a single track. Produced by a man who flew from Tokyo to New York on nothing but conviction. And most people who love every artist on it have still never heard them together. Number 4, Channel Live, Lock It Up, 1995. Channel Live, Hakeem and Tuffy, came out of Harlem in 1995 running on the direct influence of KRS-One.
But I love it when they blow, it feels good to my head. It's about the same length but 2 inches.
Who produced their debut station identification and brought the full weight of Boogie Down Productions' philosophy to their sound. Lock It Up carries that lineage openly. BoomBap built on political urgency that KRS had been deploying since South Bronx in 1986.
It's actual, just like my nappy skull. My skills are natural. For me to lose you with this.
Delivered with the focused intensity of MCs who understood the message and the music were inseparable.
My shit is thick like a woolly-headed black.
Station identification received strong reviews, earned Channel Live spots on major tours, and generated genuine underground momentum. But the commercial translation never came despite KRS's full involvement. The buried fact is that Lock It Up moved through college radio in the Northeast more than its sales figures suggest. The audience was real and engaged, just too diffused to show up on the metrics the industry used to count success. KRS-One's involvement should have been the elevator. For Channel Live, it became the ceiling. As the demand for a political rap record in a market moving toward bad boys maximalism proved commercially impossible to sustain. Some artists arrive in the right era artistically and the wrong era commercially. And Channel Live is the case study. But the next entry goes even deeper into the vault. To a solo MC whose 1994 record is so scarce that even dedicated underground collectors argue about whether they've actually heard it. Number 3, D1 Uneke, 1994. The name D1 doesn't appear in most hip-hop histories. Doesn't appear in most underground retrospectives. And barely surfaces in the collector databases that have spent 2 decades cataloging every 12-inch pressed in New York between 1988 and 1999.
We have not forgotten about you out there. This is dedicated to the DJs of the world.
And yet Uneke, released in 1994, is exactly what its title claims. A record unlike anything in its immediate environment. Built on a production aesthetic that resists easy comparison and lyricism operating at a level of self-awareness unusual for an artist this early in their public existence. The track was pressed in quantities so small that its current scarcity on the secondary market is less a function of time and more a function of the original run never being large enough to survive. The buried fact is that Uneke represents the purest possible example of what the mid-90s underground could produce entirely outside any infrastructure. No label, no distribution network, no DJ relationship large enough to move copies. Just an MC building something real and releasing it into a world not listening closely enough. The internet has slowly surfaced it through archival YouTube channels and collector forums where its rediscovery reads less like archaeology and more like overdue justice. There are MCs who released on major labels in 1994 whose work hasn't aged as cleanly as this. That's not a footnote. That's the whole story. The next entry comes from Philadelphia teenagers who proved the underground had no city limits and made records that held their own against anything New York was producing. Number 2, to Youngsta's Mad Props, 1994. The Youngsta's, Taj Raekwon, Taji Kabir, and Churan Goodman were teenagers from Philadelphia making rap with a seriousness and technical precision that had nothing to do with their age and everything to do with how deeply they had studied the craft. Mad Props arrived in 1994 off their second album, No Mercy, on East West Records.
I'm getting busier. I'm creeping like you saw me butt sleeping.
The kind of track that made listeners stop and do the math on how old these MCs actually were. Built on East Coast fundamentals with a Philly looseness underneath. Drums that swung slightly more than New York BoomBap typically allowed. A sample palette drawn from a completely different well. No Mercy received strong hip-hop press notices. Performed commercially at a moment when the market was fully occupied with Biggie and Nas. And had little appetite left for teenage MCs from Philadelphia regardless of what was on the record. The buried fact is that the Youngsta's entire career arc, 3 albums, critical respect, commercial disappointment, is one of the most instructive case studies in what the mid-90s rap industry did to young artists who arrived before the machine was prepared to process them. Mad Props is the document that proves what they had. The fact that most people have never heard it is the document that proves what was lost. But the number 1 record on this list assembled 4 legends in one room. And the man who made it happen flew across an ocean to do it. Number 1, DJ Honda, Pre of Cash and the Beatnuts, Fat Joe and Common Sense, 1995. Tokyo, 1994. A producer named DJ Honda boards a flight to New York carrying beats and nothing else. Walks into studios and convinces the Beatnuts, Fat Joe, and a Chicago MC named Common Sense to appear on a single track together. 3 completely distinct styles, 3 different regional identities. Unified by a Japanese producer operating on nothing but conviction and craft. Pre of Cash is the result. The Beatnuts delivering the Bronx Latin street energy they were perfecting on their own records. Fat Joe arriving with the Terror Squad weight that made his voice impossible to mistake and common sense. 1 year removed from Resurrection, establishing him as one of the most lyrically ambitious MCs alive. Laying a verse that sounds effortless because he spent years making sure the effort never showed. DJ Honda would sign to Columbia Records in the late 90s and build a roster that included Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Black Thought, and KRS-One. But Pre of Cash was his introduction, proof that geography was not a prerequisite for understanding what New York hip-hop was. The buried fact is that Common Sense dropped the sense from his name in 1997 following a lawsuit. Eventually won a Grammy in 2015 and became one of hip-hop's most celebrated figures. Meaning this record is one of the earliest documented chapters of a career most people think they already know completely. 4 names, 1 track, a producer from Tokyo who understood New York well enough to bring it together. And a record that most people who love every artist on it have still never heard. That's not a miss. That's a mission. Was DJ Honda the most underrated connector in 90s hip-hop? Or does the fact that almost nobody knows his name prove that the underground never paid enough attention to who actually built the rooms where the legends showed up?